Alright, let's talk about slipper clutches. This, you may have seen, this Savage I recently took out for a bit of a test drive, and the slipper clutch decided that it was going to melt away. I haven't looked at it yet, so we'll look at it for the first time. But there's always is, and particularly off the back of that video, a fair bit of confusion about slipper clutches and what they do, how they even work. So I suppose we'll have a look at it. I need to look at this one anyway. I am going to do a whole video on repairing it, but I thought you lot want to know about it, so let's just dedicate one video to why we have slipper clutches and how they work. So this one fell apart. Basically, it got so hot that it melted. Look, it literally melted. That's where the nut holds it on. There's like a, here's, look, let's get some, got some other ones here. Look, this isn't one for a Savage, but there's like a brass thing in the middle there, and you've got a pad on the back of it which grips on that metal thing in there, and you've obviously got the spring and a nut what holds it together. Well, this one got so hot that it melted that, and that is still on the shaft, as you can see there, and then the actual spur itself fell apart. So I think, I don't know if that will fit on, probably not. 47 tooth. I've got some others. I've got these ones. I won't replace it in this video. We're just going to talk about slipper clutches because, as I say, there's some confusion, and they're an easy thing. I don't know why. There's quite a lot of cars that have them, quite a lot that don't. The Rushes, all the other ones. By the way, the other day I managed to lose the grommet thing that goes on the gearbox. Some of you are going to notice that. I must have not put it on properly, and it must have flew off somewhere, so I'm never going to find that again. So I'll have to find another one to stop dirt going in there, but that's the least of my problems. Anyway, let's get this slipper off and we can talk about it. Alright, so quite often you don't have to take the engine out in order to get your spur off, to get to your slipper. So you can get a spanner on there, and in my case, normally if your spur is still attached to the little slipper pad thing, you just grab onto your spur, but in my case it's had it, isn't it? So I've got to jam a screwdriver in there and undo this nut. Now you can normally, it takes a little bit of fiddling, but you can get these spurs on and off without taking the engine out if you fiddle around enough. But we might have to take the engine out, but anyway, doesn't matter. We're here to talk about spur gears, we're not here to talk about engines and anything else. Let me get this off and we'll go from there. Okay. I'm bloody excited, man. I just love it. Where would you rather be right now, right? Where would you rather be? Would you rather be learning about spur gears, or would you rather be somewhere else? You know, you could be anywhere. You could be in a nice holiday resort somewhere. You could be in the desert. You could be anywhere. That being said, I want you to tell me where in the world you are. Where in the world are you? You've decided you want to learn about spur gears and slipper clutches, but where are you in the world? And what made you want to decide to learn about it? I reckon the amount of confusion all around the world is too much. Far too much. Anyway, let's get this off and have a look. Right, I needed to take the engine out because the clutch bell must be bigger than the other one on the other Savages. Anyway, it's better for you because you can see more. So let's take that off. Well, that's the state of the old spur, and this is a 49 tooth spur on here. And then you have a spring which preloads the nut and pushes the spur on, and then you've got that little clutch plate, which is what that slips on, and you can see how that's slipping on there. It's supposed to slip, that's the point of it. Now this brass thing has welded itself to that shaft. That's how hot it got the other day. It was slipping far too much. Now that's the trouble with slipper clutches, they do slip, that's the point of them. They are called slipper clutches. Now I've got to try and get that off. I might have to employ some further heat. We will see. I don't really want to be putting any penetrating fluid or anything on it because below this is the brakes and I don't want to get any oil on the brakes. So let's just turn that around, try and get our way off. Now you're probably thinking, what on earth has this got to do with a video that explains how slipper clutches work? Well, listen, the way I see it, if you can see me having to mend this one a little bit, as I say, there's going to be a full video on actually mending it, but if you can see this, you might have an idea of how they work. That's my take on things anyway. And this is just broken up into a million pieces, which is quite good. So that's the little bit, that's the little fitting which goes, that one hasn't gone, that's the little, that is that what goes in the middle. And as we know, it got so hot that it just melted away out of there. Anyway, so what you have is you've got the gearbox, you've got the shaft that comes out. I'll zoom in and that's so you can see that a little bit better. So you've got the gearbox, you've got the shaft that comes out of there. And then you have your little plate which goes on there, and there's little locating nubs on there, little nipple things, little lugs, whatever you call them, wherever you come from. That goes on there and that goes in a certain place. And then you put the spur on. Let's, for the sake of it, put this 47 tooth. I don't think it's going to fit. Well, it might do. I don't want to. This metal spur I was saving for my own Savage. And this isn't, well, it is my Savage, but I've bought this on purpose to sell. That's the point of it, to sell it. So I don't want to be putting my good metal spur on there, but for this demonstration we will do. You put that on, and then you put the spring, and then you've got wherever the nut's gone then, and then you put the nut on, right? And so the idea of it is, it's a bit like a clutch. When you accelerate, this pad slips a bit, and then as it gets hot, it then starts to grip, and then when it grips, away you go. The point of that is to try and save the gearbox. It's to try and stop a lot of wear on the gearbox, because these engines, they've got a fair bit of power when it goes to this gearbox. I mean, if you wouldn't be able to stop it with your hand. There's a lot of power that goes through these, a couple of horsepower. And if you think how big a horse is, there's a lot of power in a horse. So it's supposed to stop these, but what I do, because they're a nuisance, they're a pain in the backside, they're no good, these slipper clutches. You know, they do what they're supposed to do, but they're just a nuisance. And what happens is they end up slipping too much, and then they wear out. Or in this case, I mean, this isn't uncommon. This has happened numerous times in my lifetime to me. They get so hot that they just melt away. I normally just do the nut up completely. This nut, what holds that together, just do it up as tight as you. Don't get it so tight, because I have done before. I've done them so tight, you snap off this shaft. It just snaps it off like a bolt. It just shears it completely off. So don't do it up mega tight, but do it up nice and tight. Yeah, you feel it. It'll be doing up, and all of a sudden it'll just go. And you think that won't go no more. Then just go tight, tight, tight. Done. That then will transfer the power, because don't forget, you've got a centrifugal clutch inside this anyway. There's a centrifugal clutch in there. So, you know, it will go straight from that centrifugal clutch straight into your gearbox. That's it. I've run my Savage 21 for the best part of 20 years like that. My Savage SS is like that. The Rush is like that. Anything with a slipper clutch, it's done up as tight as I can get it to go. Simple as that. If you want to play around with slipper clutches and that, you're more than welcome to, but I don't think there's a lot of point. What's this one? That's a 47 tooth. What's this one? That's a 47 tooth. I could possibly put the 47 tooth on there, and that would fit quite well. And I think that would probably mesh up to that. Yeah, that meshes up to there okay, even though there's a 49 on it already, but that meshes up alright. I might stick that one on. I have to put a new pad on it though. Well, that one's got a pad on it already, look. but it's got no inner bush, so I might take that bush out of that one, put it in this one, excuse me, and put that on there. Anyway, what's this one? Oh, this one's got a pad and a bush, and that's a 47 tooth, so that one is going on there. Great. And I'm saving this metal one for my own Savage. I think it'll fit. Anyway, that's enough of that. There you go. Quite small and quick, but you now know, well, in a nutshell, about slipper clutches. I always try to get the most easiest explanation and the most easiest way of explaining things as I possibly can, and hopefully that's what I've done there. They're very simple, there's no need to be confused about them. My advice to you, and I know a lot of people are going to say, we did, but just do the bloody nut up. Just do the nut up as tight as you can get it, but don't over tighten it and you'll be fine. It'll be perfect. There's no need to panic about it, no need to worry about it. So that might be the source of a lot of people's problems, because I often get people ask me questions, you know, oh, I think my clutch has had it, the centrifugal clutch is worn out because it revs up really high and doesn't go anywhere. And I always say, yeah, the clutch might have had it, but have you looked at the slipper clutch? And they say, the slipper clutch, there's another clutch. I'm like, yeah, behind the spur gear there's a slipper clutch, and that's what that does. And then most of the time it's just that nut's not tight enough. So they might go to the whole trouble of changing the clutch bell, the 3-shoe clutch, the springs and all that, and it doesn't fix your problem. So it's important to look at that slipper clutch. If you're finding that your engine's revving a lot but it's not going anywhere and you're losing a bit of power, there's a slipper clutch involved. If you've got a Savage, a Rush, and anything else that looks like that. If you're not sure if you've got a slipper clutch and you've got problems where you're revving but not going anywhere, look to see if you have got a slipper clutch, because not all RC cars have slipper clutches, but you won't know until you look. Anyway, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you later on. All the best.